Welcome back to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. I've asked John de Vries. He is the Managing Director and CEO of BlackRock Mining. ASX code is BKT. What have they got? Graphite in Tanzania. Now, it's a little bit different, really interesting. Market cap's about 90 mil, but there's some really big catalysts, I think, coming up, which is why I've asked John to come on and have a chat to us, our community, so we can understand what makes this project different and why we should sit up and take notice. John, thanks for joining me today on Making Money Matter, all the way over there in Africa.
Good morning, Kerry, and it's good to be here, and really good to be able to talk about the BKT story and the journey that we've been on in the years of being in the project. So it's a great project, and we think we've got something very different.
All right, I'm going to get into the project and something different, but before we do, John, many of us have been, we hear all about lithium. I'm known sometimes as that gold lady. I don't really fully understand where the market sits with graphite, what graphite's used for, and then I want to get into the project. But just give us an overview of graphite itself.
Yeah, I'd probably describe graphite as the dark matter of the lithium-ion battery sector. Everybody gets lithium-ion batteries. You can't build an EV without one. And everybody gets lithium and cathode minerals. Well, quite frankly, they don't work if you don't have anode. And that anode is predominantly graphite. Two sources, synthetic and natural, and clearly we're a natural producer. Natural tends to be lower cost. So that's a desirable output. The challenge we have at the moment is that China is, in effect, a 1,200-pound panda in the space. It controls something like 75% of all graphite production. But there is an intermediate step called spherical purified graphite, which is a process step before you convert it to anode. China controls 99% of that material, and at the moment it's imposed export controls. Now, it hasn't exercised those controls, they sit there. But certainly if you're thinking about where the world's going, it's really starting to get quite tense. And the availability of graphite is going to be fundamental to the West to establish its own indigenous battery industry, and the West to be able to manufacture EVs going forward. So that's the base case for why we need a graphite industry outside of China.
What's the supply demand at the moment? I mean, you spoke about the fact that China, it sounds to me like it's almost got a bit of a chokehold on it, and that can be dangerous. What's supply demand like at the moment? Do we need to hurry up and make sure that there's more graphite supply available? And that's pretty much where we're going to go with this conversation.
Picking up on the lithium commentary, they had a terrible year last year. The market only grew 25%. If you give me another market that's growing 25%, I'll put my money in it. So, the way to see graphite is the rate of growth in lithium dictates the rate of growth in graphite. So the two are parallel. I don't think, we're really looking at the rate of adoption of EVs as opposed to whether or not people will adopt them. And again, if you think about the cost of these things, seen an interesting statistic come out I think it was about 2 days ago. The cost of a lithium-ion battery has dropped 90% in the last 15 years.
Wow.
So, you start to gain, and we haven't really started to hit the straps of scales of economy and manufacturing yet. So, these things are going to become very cheap. And I think the lesson we've learnt from all the e-scooter fires and the rest of it around the place is that while the cost is going down, we need to be very cognizant of quality. And I think, again, that's where we start to bifurcate in the industries. There are batteries and there are good batteries. Very, very important to understand that differentiation. And that battery thing gets back to this idea of qualification. It takes a long time to qualify a product into a battery because there are safety concerns if you put the wrong product in there. And that lead time is typically 4 to 5 years. We're fortunate in our project, we identified that as an issue a long time ago. And as part of that, we developed a relationship with Posco of Korea to start qualifying our material into Posco's supply chain. That's much easier because Posco...
Let me take a step back if I could. Let's go back a step if you like. I want to know, talk to us about the management of BlackRock Mining and how you got your hands on this project, because I said earlier, it's a graphite project in Tanzania. So our community out there will be going, well, what's Tanzania like and who's running the company? It's a business.
Yeah, okay. So look, we keep the board and the management team fairly tight at the moment. We have a 3-member board. It's Richard Crooks, who's ex-EMR and ex-Macquarie Bank. Ian Murray, I think most people know Ian Murray from Gold Road Resources, and myself. Between the three of us, there's not like about 100 years of experience in executive level in the resources sector. So we've sort of got the scar tissue. Our exec team, I've got Paul Sims as CFO. Paul was CFO and CEO at Carrara Iron in Western Australia. Stu McIntyre comes in with a 20-year pedigree as a broker. Ray White is heading our ESG function, and Daniel Pantony. Daniel was the project manager at Sirius Balama. So not only do I have a guy who knows how to build a graphite mine, but he knows how to build one in Africa. So we've got a pretty unusual team here in that we've all got the scar tissue. We've all built mines, and we really just want to get on and get this thing funded and then move into construction and execution.
All right. So how did you get your hands on the project? What is this? What is this project, Mahangi? It's a graphite project in Tanzania. Why Tanzania? Do you like that jurisdiction? Talk to us about how big this project is. What have you got? What have you got your hands on?
It's an enormous project. There's 200 million tonnes of resource sitting in there. So I think we're number 4, number 5 in terms of resources. We're number 2 in terms of JORC reserves globally. Right. That's pretty important because if you're going to make a battery out of this material, you're using natural flake graphite, you have to tailor the chemistry a little bit to the residual gang material in the flake, and you don't want to be doing that too often. So if you're an EV manufacturer, you're looking for scale, and scale particularly matters. The other feature we've got is it's a particularly clean and pure graphite, so we can deliver a concentrate grade that is well above industry norms. That saves our customers lots of money in terms of manufacturing, and gives us an advantage in battery performance as well. The project was a discovery. A neighbouring entity had to sell down land as their mining, their exploration permits expired. We picked up the ground and found the 2 projects. Lucky us, and taken it forward. The attraction to Tanzania, and why Tanzania, is it's a combination of geology and geography I've just not seen anywhere. The geology is clearly good. It's a big project and it's pure. It's got lots of large flake, which adds the margin to us. And you can think about large flake effectively as being like iron ore. Lump is better than fines. And if you've got lots of lump, that's really good.
Oh, okay.
So we got lots of lump in our case. A typical project would be maybe 10% large flake. We're at 70% large flake. So you get an idea of a different price point. The other thing that we've got is really good logistics. We've got a sealed road to Ifakara. They're talking about upgrading the road to the mine site. So in about 2 to 3 years' time, we hope to have a sealed road all the way to the front door of the mine. Tanzania's just commissioned a 2 gigawatt hydroelectric dam. So we've got a country here that's got an abundance of clean, sensibly priced hydroelectric power. So that gives us a low carbon intensity product. And we've got one of the biggest container ports in East Africa down at Dar es Salaam. So we've got an ability to get our product to our customers very quickly. So to line up all those pieces of the puzzle really matters. And when you put them all together, the so what is it pivots the project to the bottom of the cost curve, which is where you need to be.
Okay. I like hearing bottom of the cost curve because from a shareholder point of view, I guess that's sometimes costs can blow out with things like this. But one of the things I wanted to know is there's a number of graphite projects out there. And I guess, what makes yours so different? Is it because of what you said, the lump and fine, the large versus the small flake? Is that the differential, or is there something else on top of that that makes this one a bit different?
There's really 2 differences. Difference number one is the geology. All right, so good geology is always a great start, and we've got good geology. It's clean, it's large flake, so that gives us a basket price that is much higher than many of our peers. The second thing is our strategy. Our strategy is not to go vertical integration. Our strategy is to work within our global supply chain. And this is where our good friends Posco come in. Posco are the biggest anode producer outside of China. So what we'll be doing for our anode grade product is we'll be selling all of that to Posco, and Posco will convert that to SPG and then into anode, and put that into the global battery supply industry. So we will have an ex-China supply chain with people who know what they're doing on day one. We looked briefly at vertical integration, but
Let me stop
it is
you for a
complex.
second, John. What do you mean by vertical integration?
Well, vertical integration is where, a junior company decides that it wants to go make anode and then sell anode to the global battery industry.
Okay.
So, that requires two process steps. You've got to produce a product called SPG, spherical purified graphite. Very, very difficult to do. And then you need to learn how to make anode, which is, again, very, very difficult to do. So, our view on that is it is capital intensive. It requires an awful lot of skill that we don't have in a mining organisation. In a company our size, that's more of a distraction. Doesn't mean we won't look at it in the future, but it does mean that today we're focused on producing a product that we sell out the mine gate and working within an existing supply chain. I think the analogy would be, we've got an iron ore mine that works and we'll put it on a ship and sell it. I don't intend to build a steel mill next door to the mine just yet.
You said just yet, which is interesting. So what you want to do is you want to get the product, you want to sell it to a company such as Posco. And I also note that Posco have a 10% equity in BlackRock. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, Posco started at 15. The relationship with Posco goes back now about 6-7 years. And this goes through a process called qualification, where customer takes a sample, sees if they can make some batteries, takes a bigger sample, makes some more batteries, tests them, etc., because these guys need to put a warranty on their product. So in doing the warranty on their product, that is, 80% charge on a 10-year-old EV, they've got to have confidence on that. And that takes time and testing for them to build that confidence together. Graphite is not a commodity exchange product, so it is a deposit by deposit thing. So Posco came in, 6-7 years ago, took some product. About 3 years ago, they made an investment of $7.5 million US to keep us moving forward on the engineering studies. And that was in exchange for offtake from Module 1. And then they've turned around and we committed to a $10 million prepay on sales of product from Module 1. And then last year in September, we signed an MOU for a $40 million equity investment as part of our construction round. So, that's $57.5 million of product endorsement. I think that's a pretty strong differentiator that says, the biggest anode producer on the planet kind of likes our stuff. And so it's a very good working relationship we have now with Posco. I think we get on really, really well.
Talk to us about some of the, I guess, the timelines going forward from here. I'm speaking to you in May of 2024. I just would love to hear some of the near-term catalysts because from a shareholder or somebody who's looking at the company, current market cap about 85, 90 mil, you've got about 5 mil cash in the bank. Potential shareholders out there will be saying, well, I kind of understand they're not going to vertically integrate, which means you don't need a huge war chest. But what are some of these near-term catalysts that you think will have the market sitting up and taking notice and saying, this is going to be a real mine?
Okay, so near-term catalyst number one, which has already happened, is that we have completed subscription agreements with Development Bank of Southern Africa and the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa for $113 million of term debt at the project level.
Okay.
That's important again. It talks about experienced African bankers who know resources coming in and going, you know what, we'll support the project because you tick all the boxes. That's pretty important as well, because these guys are going to be very sensitive to ESG credibility. So as part of that, we need to be, IFC compliant and Equator Principles 4 compliant. So we'd be reasonably confident that we meet those two hurdles. So that's ticked off. The next one is obviously Posco completing their subscription agreement and coming in with $40 million. Now, it sends two messages. A, there's $40 million sitting beside the 113 of term debt. But B, it also sends a very strong message about the offtake and the intention of Posco to continue to move forward, because Posco now has its foot on fines from Module 1 and Module 2. So that's a pretty important step. Then the next step out of there would be, can we come in with another cornerstone? We may or may not be able to announce, depending on the terms and conditions of that one. But there is a parallel process that we have, is a sell down in the holding company. The project's held by a UK holding company, and we are engaged in a number of conversations with entities who are pretty keen to buy a chunk of that company and come in at what we call a partner process, a partner level. So there's the potential project sell down built into the structure. So catalysts coming up, obviously Posco crossing the bridge. Maybe there's something come out of the sell down, and then can we announce another cornerstone equity partner? Timing's pretty critical here. We need to be on the ground late July, August, so we've got enough of a run in the dry season to give us a construction platform that we can work from during the wet season. So that really means, we really do want to be on the roller skates here late July with an equity raise, just to close that off. Now, how much that equity raise is still up for debate, because we need to see the level of passion from somebody who wants to come in from the partner level process, and also understand the entities who can potentially partner this. Now, the reason I'm sort of being a little circumspect there, we'll call a spade, is that a lot of national entities are beginning to realise just how tight the supply chain for anode material could potentially get if China was to play hardball here. And everybody's starting to ruthlessly pursue national self-interest. And given the fact you need $1 billion if you're going to put together an anode plant and an SPG facility, they're beginning to realise the solution that we have is unique in the fact that it works pretty quickly. We can scale it very fast.
I think that's important. Is anyone else doing something? I've got a few questions here, John, and we're running out of time. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. How fast can you scale? So let's just say the funding's all in, you're good to go. How fast can you scale this up? This
one, we talked originally in a project of about a 4-month early works program, followed by a 20-month construction program. The equity drought in junior sector has made that early works program redundant, so we're going to have to bundle everything together. So it's about 2 years from start to finish to where we are now. That's Module 1, and Module 1 includes a bunch of infrastructure such as power line, roads, resettlement village, etc. When we go to subsequent modules, we can probably put them down on an annual basis.
Yeah, because you said earlier, you mentioned Module 1, Module 2. I've actually had that written down going, what's Module 1 and what's Module 2? Can you just outline that very quickly?
Yeah, look, very simply, this is an enormous project. But last thing you want to do is overcapitalise or put too much product out and blow up your market points. So rather than building one enormous machine, what we're doing is putting 4 parallel trains together, and we get one going and then cash flow the second, the third and the fourth. And what that does is gives us gives us capital discipline. It gives us the opportunity, if we need to do some tweaks on the design, we can do the design tweaks. But critically, it's about capital management and product management, making sure we don't put too much product out there. What it's really turned out to be, this is the one thing we didn't anticipate, is, geez, it's been very, very good from a fundraising perspective, because, the fact is Posco got the fines from Module 1 for 7.5 mil. Module 2, they're doing 40. Start to think, well, what about Modules 3 and 4? What's the fines for that worth in a environment where potentially, we're not seeing much new product come out? Gets to be, I think we got it right.
Sounds to me, and I just want one last question before we start to wrap things up. You said that 40 million Posco is a subscription agreement. What does that mean?
Share subscription agreement.
Oh, so share subscription. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just 40 million shares coming in, done.
Done.
But not totally done yet. We're still waiting for the final hurdle to cross.
We're waiting for the Posco machinery to kick through. It's a very large organisation. And, look, what's been fascinating about them is how they've set up their Posco Future Materials. They've just created a complete future-facing division in the space of a couple of years. It's a pretty radical restructure. And their job, their aim is fundamentally become a Bunnings of the lithium-ion battery business. If you want materials, you just buy it from Posco and build your battery.
Very clever. Yeah, very clever. Now, one of the things I just quickly want to ask you is anyone else, because we mentioned vertically integrated and you explained that before, that there's a lot of graphite companies out there trying to produce anode, and you're like, no, that costs an absolute bomb. We're not going to do that. You're almost partnering with Posco to say, we've got the graphite flakes. We'll deliver that to you. Our shareholders make money. Posco has product. So I guess it goes back to, you've got the product. Sorry, you've got the project. They'll make the product. Is there anyone else doing this in the graphite space?
No. Literally, this gets back to the historical thing. If we were to announce that we would do, an anode plant in country X, we would probably get some taxpayer subsidy to build the anode plant. The reality is that anode plant needs to be profitable. That's a little bit too more. That's a bit tougher. So this gets back to the national interest. People, the nation states of the world are still pursuing this as a national supply chain as opposed to a global supply chain. And while we will deal with, Europe's a classic, a lot of inquiries out of Europe around auto manufacturing, can you sell us anode, or can you sell graphite to a non-existent anode industry in Europe? No, we can't. You need an anode industry. We can't sell you graphite if you don't have an industry to buy it. Will you build it? Well, give me $1 billion. So there's this breakdown that we really haven't been able to solve as an industry yet. And the result has a lot of people have tried to go vertically integrated. It's just really, really tough. We're just keeping our powder dry. The other solution is to sell it all to China, and I think that comes with a hatful of heartache as well.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Make money. Keep it simple. Partner up with somebody like Posco, who, we like Posco. They're smart. They're very smart. They've got 10% ownership of you now. There's the potential for this extra 40 mil. Very interesting times for you, John. Let's wrap it all up, tie it up with a bow, and give us your 3 reasons why you think people should be sitting up and taking notice of something which is potentially billions. Is it about $1 billion project or more?
The NPV on this thing's only $2.1 billion Australian.
Right, I'm just going to point this out. NPV 2.1 billion, current market cap 90 mil. You do the math. Yeah. Over to you, John. Give us 3 reasons to sit up and take notice, apart from the NPV.
Okay, well, part of the management team owns about 6% of the company, so we're motivated like everybody else. Lesson number 1 is the lithium-ion supply, lithium-ion conversion to EVs is going to be a rate of change as opposed to if it's going to work or not. We will be driving battery EVs in 10 years' time. And that's going to require the development of a supply chain that works for those. And geopolitical risks mean that supply chain is increasingly going to be an ex-China supply chain.
Got it.
We're unique. We're part of a global supply chain today. We don't need to develop anything new. Tanzania's got really unique attributes in that it's a great mix of geology and geography. Geology gives us a unique price point because it's pure flake, it's large flake, so it puts us at the top of the wazza in terms of our price point. But it's the logistics and access to grid power that pivots us to the bottom of the cost curve. So we've got a point where we're top of revenue, bottom of cost. Again, that's the perfect place to be. And then thirdly, the team we've put together, we have the skills, knowledge and experience to be able to execute in Tanzania. Indeed, we've got the skills, knowledge and experience to execute in the sector. So I think we've got the three reasons there, very powerful tailwind from the sector in terms of the market. We've got the right project and we've got the right people who know how to execute the project.
John de Vries, he is the Managing Director and CEO of BlackRock Mining. I said at the start, the ASX code is BKT. As John just said, top of the revenue, bottom of the cost. What's not to like, but do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining me on Making Money Matter, John. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Kerry, and good morning in Sydney.